G'day YouTube, Max Wright here, and I'm going to be doing a question and answer session. So if you've got your questions here in time, here they are here, or on the bottom of this video where I asked for the members to do that. I'll go ahead and answer all those questions in a moment. But first, I figured I'd start off with a little bit of a Bitcoin update. And so some really interesting news today. There was a big flash crash in the price of Bitcoin today. It went down, I think 20%. In the space of an hour, and then bounced back. And actually, let's go, we're on the weekly chart here. Let's take a look at this on the 15-minute chart, and you can see what I'm talking about. And you can see right here in this period, where are we? This went from, let's say, well, I mean, from here, 56,000, and this is a 15-minute chart, remember, so this is talking about 3 hours, from 56,000 down to 47,000, and then came straight back up. But the big movement went from 53 to 47 in the space of 30 minutes and then bounced back up. So it was like a 20% drop, but what happened in the altcoin market was crazy. If you check out DOT, in this one 15-minute, it went from 32 down to 12 and straight back up to 32. That all happened in the space of 15 minutes. So in the alts got wrecked and bounced back immediately. There was a huge flash crash right across the board, and it was actually happened before I woke up. So if you managed to be around for it and bought the dip, good for you, because you just like possibly tripled your money today. So wild ride in the world of Bitcoin. What caused the flash crash? We believe, and we're still checking it out, but there was a pool. So if you're not sure what a pool is, it doesn't matter, I won't explain it, but a mining pool called F2 Pool, they were seen to pull off, I think about 3,500 Bitcoin off their cold wallet holdings yesterday. And then there was an even larger portion, something in the order of like 20 to 30,000 Bitcoins deposited on the Gemini exchange. And so the theory is that the coins that we saw from FT Pool were merged with other coins from FT Pool and then deposited on Gemini and then liquidated and caused this flash crash. But they're in the middle of a bull market, so it got bought up, snapped up very, very quickly in the space of 15, 20 minutes. Why they would do it this way, I don't know. They can use over-the-counter exchanges and do this in a far more seamless, less abrasive way, but maybe that's part of their strategy. Maybe they liquidate a whole bunch of Bitcoin, buy up a whole bunch of altcoins when they drop down 50, 60, 70% and absolutely crush the market that way. So maybe that's what they do. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's all kind of a blip in the screen, really. I mean, it lasted for 30 minutes. If you managed to have an opportunity, great. If you got stopped out of a trade, that's where it really sucks. It really sucks if you're in a trade and something like this happens and you got stopped out of your trade. So that's something to be mindful of. But broadly speaking, Bitcoin market is looking great. So I'll go ahead and answer the question because I always get the questions like, should I buy Bitcoin now? It's like, you need to get yourself this. You need to decide which hat you're wearing. There's two different hats you can wear. You can be an investor or you can be a trader. If you are an investor, my answer is sure. Go buy Bitcoin now. Like, might it go down a bit later? Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about that more in a minute, about how far it can go down, when it can go down, likelihood of that in just a moment. But when you're an investor, just start accumulating. When Bitcoin's $200,000-$300,000, as I believe it will be later this year, you won't care if you've gone in at 54 or 49 or 47. You won't care. It'll be irrelevant. Okay? You just get in and you just get in. You're not a professional trader. You're not going to be able to time the bottom. You're not going to be able to time the top. You just get in when you can, and when it's that really nice profit later on, you get out when you can. Like, you just have to recognize the fact that you're an investor and not a trader. Now, if you're a trader and you're obsessing over all the charts and doing all the TA and getting in and out of trades, usually in a leverage position, that's very different. It's very different. Then you're looking for good entry points, you're looking for good exit points, and it's a different mindset. So for the investor, it's a short conversation. Yeah, buy now. Buy now. It's a great time. Just go ahead, buy now. Trader, a little bit different, and we'll go into that a bit more now. Likelihood of it going up, down, short term, etc., etc. So let's go, well, we're on the weekly here, so let's check it out. So for the new guys, this purple line here, it is the 21-week moving average. And traditionally in bull markets, the 21-week moving average has a very, the Bitcoin price has a very strong relationship with it in that it constantly revisits it. So here we are, December 2017, we're at $20,000, And you can see in the preceding year, it boomed and then bust down to the purple line, the 21-week moving average. This bust didn't come quite down, and I think that's one of the warning signs that we're getting ready for a blow off top and a reversal in the market. We'll come to that perhaps in another video. So we had one, did we have one? Yes. This wick comes down here, then 1, 2, 3, we're in March of 2017, pretty close here, January of 2017, so there's 4, and then in September of 2016, running into October, we're living on the 21-week moving average, so calling that 5, 6, let's say. So throughout the preceding 13 months of the top in 2017, we had 5 or 6 touches on the 21-week moving average. Booms up, busts down. Okay, let's take that piece of information. Let's go and look at where we are here. And we see a very interesting thing going on here. We haven't visited the 21-week moving average since way back in October of 2020. And we're at the end of February now. So we got basically 5 months. Let's call it 4.5 months. That is a really long time to be away from the 21-week moving average traditionally. But you can always make the arguments that this time is different. And so maybe it's different this time. The institutional money's coming in. It's not letting it get anywhere near down there. Guys like your Michael Saylor, Tesla, they see it drop down 15, 20%, they're going to snap it up. And it's never going to get near the 21-week moving average. That's certainly an argument. Or maybe it's building up for quite a nice drop in perhaps maybe March might be a good opportunity for it to do that, to crash down and touch this. Back in 2017, I don't think it was ever away from the 21-week moving average for 4.5 months. I think it was for about 3 months, but not 4.5 months. So this is a long one. And so, just what do you do with that piece of information? It's a great question. Are we going to crash down? I don't think, if you don't have any Bitcoin, I don't think you can take that risk, because it's entirely possible that Bitcoin just shoots off, blows past $100,000, and all of a sudden you miss the boat. So I think if you don't have any crypto, you've got to get into Bitcoin at these prices. You're at 52, you're still $7,000 off the top. And so, yeah, if you're an investor, I'm buying, and you don't have any Bitcoin, for sure, I'm definitely taking some position, getting some exposure to Bitcoin. But maybe there's a big drop later on, you're going to miss out. But when the price is $200,000, $300,000, you're not going to be too focused about it. It doesn't matter. For the traders, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's kick it back to the daily chart here. And we can see that Bitcoin has been in this channel, this rather narrow ascending channel, for quite some time, since all the way back way back here. In fact, all the way back here, since the beginning of December. Okay? It's been in this very narrow channel, except for one time when it overshot, came back down, caught its breath, came back, re-entered the channel, and here we are. And then just in the last 3 days, we escaped the channel, had this flash crash, and now we're coming back into the channel. Right now, we're sitting on top of the channel. So, look, it's a very interesting time. This channel here is kind of a pretty good marker, I think, for where we are in at the moment. And so something to consider. Now, its nature is that it always escapes its channels. That's the nature of an exponential thing, and Bitcoin is exponential. And so the nature of an if you're used to seeing the logarithmic chart where it kind of comes down like this, understand that's a logarithmic chart. On a linear chart, Bitcoin is very, very exponential. And so during this bull run, it's going to have an increasing channel, and then it'll break out of that channel to create a steeper increasing channel. It'll break out of that, create another steeper increasing channel until eventually the bull run is over. And so that's what it looks like. So right now, I'm not jumping in to any moves right now. I don't like the look of this chart. Had I been here this morning and I've seen this, oh my gosh, it would have been all over it. All over it. This was huge, but especially in alts. That was huge. But there you go. That happened for 30 minutes and I wasn't awake for it. So, que sera, sera. As a result, Bitcoin dominance has moved up. Let's go and check out the Bitcoin dominance chart here. And I'll zoom out so you can see the long-term trend lines. You got this big blue line descending channel here, which we've been following for years. All right. We did break out of it with this ascending channel. Now we came down and we're into this little world here where it's been hovering around the 60 mark. But thing to notice, seemed to be created boundaries with this trend line, several touch points here, and then this trend line. I want you to notice that both trend lines are trending down. So, excuse me. Got a little tickle in my throat here. This blue line here is where we would need to break through that before we possibly get up and start and would suggest that altcoin season is over. But right now, I think altcoin season is probably going to still outperform Bitcoin. At least that's the evidence in the charts. And if it does actually come back down to meet this trend line, that'll be a very sharp movement indeed, I think. So that's something that's very much on the cards. All right, I threw the little Bitcoin update here. Let's get into the questions. So the link in the description, the way this works is, so on Friday, I sent out this video. It was an unlisted video. You'll see here, unlisted video, and it's for the paid members of Success Council to ask their questions. We've got 75 questions here to answer. They go ahead and spend the next few days putting in their questions. I come back and answer them in video, just like I'm about to do today. So if you want to follow along with the questions, maybe you want to skip everybody else's questions and just find your question, what you can do is you can go back to this video and click sort by newest. Newest first, and that's what I've done. And you can find the questions in order of how I'm going to reply to them. Okay, so the link to this video where the questions are is in the description of this video that you're watching right now. Okay, so let's get into the questions, and 75 questions. We'll probably be at this for about an hour. Let's see if we can knock it out. So first question from UFO. Looking ahead, do you think there'll be another bull run in cryptocurrencies in 2025? If so, why? Won't the value of cryptocurrencies be much more stable as they are increasingly used as currency and not just as an investment? I'm not sure if the latter part of that statement is true, but yes, typically what is expected is that volatility will go down over time. The bigger the market cap, the lower the volatility. Will there be another bull run in 2025? I think all evidence suggests yes at the moment, and the reason is the 4-year cycle, which is based on the Bitcoin halving. So go ahead and check out my other videos on the Bitcoin halving and what that is. That is what dictates the cycles. And so we've got some pretty good evidence to suggest that 2025 will be another bull run, and 2022 possibly will be a rough year for Bitcoin, crashing down significantly. Can you advise on loans to BTC? I think, are you talking about using loans? You want to borrow BTC? Or are you talking about using BTC as collateral for loans? Either way, I would suggest Blockfi is the place to go. And if you look, there's a link in the description of this video where I think you get a coupon code, and if you deposit some money, you get a free, if you deposit any Bitcoin there, you get free $250. So go ahead and take advantage of that. And Blockfi, I have not yet created my account at Blockfi, but I am about to, and I'm going to do a big video for you guys explaining what Blockfi is. It's really, really important and a really important game changer in the industry. And for those of you who don't know, I have a fund coming up. I'm not allowed to advertise the fund, and so that's the rules of that particular type of fund that I've chose. So if you're not someone I've already spoken to about the fund, you can't join the fund, but the fund will be investing in crypto. And with that money in that fund, I'll probably be launching that next week. With the money in that fund, I'm actually going to be holding it at Blockfi, and it will be earning interest, while we're holding that money. So Blockfi is a really good source. I've been researching it a lot, and I'm all for Blockfi. Check the link in the description if you want to earn interest on your crypto and get, I hope it's a $250 bonus. I need to double check that, but I'll check the link. That'll be accurate. Okay. Elizabeth M. Hi, Max. Thanks for your great work. I've heard that Michael Saylor will sell his Bitcoins. He won't sell, he'll borrow against it. How does this work? Can you please explain how and where I can do that? Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. Same question. The place that I will be doing it, if I do it, is Blockfi. Again, check the link in the description. You can deposit your Bitcoin. You can deposit it. You can withdraw. They will lend you cash against your Bitcoin. And I think you pay about 4.5% interest on the cash that you withdraw. You've got to have, you're going to be a retail investor. Retail investors have to have 2-to-1 security. So if you want to borrow $100,000, you have to deposit $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. And then if the price of Bitcoin goes down, you might get margin called and then liquidated. So you have to understand the risks when you go into that kind of a thing. But when you do that, that's what's happening, and that's how you can borrow against your Bitcoin. You can also deposit your Bitcoin there and just earn interest. That's another thing you can do at BlockFi. So two very cool things. Hi Max, my burning question is about the manipulation of the crypto prices by well-known mafia. They can bring them down or up according to by their agenda, which is completely off any market logic. How do you cope with that? Thanks for answering, Mark. Hey Mark, so yeah, listen, every single market is manipulated. But what does manipulated mean? I don't know. There's bullies out there like whales who can buy and sell and move the price. I don't know, is that manipulating? Okay, so be it. You could also argue there's some more nefarious market manipulation, like some people have suggested that the company that creates Tether is creating Tether out of thin air, buying up Bitcoin, even though they didn't actually have the Tether with which to buy it. So there's some also more nefarious ways of marketing, but it happens with every single market, and I don't even think about it. It doesn't matter. I'm primarily a long-term investor. I do trade occasionally for shits and giggles to just like get practice at it and sort of build my skill set at that. But I've made the vast majority of my money in Bitcoin through just investing. I just bought and held, hodled as we say, for years and years and years, and it's just been fine for me. So the market manipulation has never really bothered me, and if you're a long-term hodler, it's not going to bother you either. Lisa, okay, Lisa's got some questions. Oh, here we go. Lisa's got all the questions for me. Let's see, Lisa. Do you recommend shifting money on reserve from a savings account into a stable coin with pending inflation? If the stable coin is like the same currency that it was in, that will serve no purpose. If the stable coin was, say, a stable coin for gold, that might serve some purpose. And yes, if you believe inflation is going to happen, a stable coin for gold, that's useful. Or a precious metal is a better option. Yeah, I don't really, well, yeah, I think precious metals is better. I think we'd prefer between a stable coin that reflected the price of precious metals. Yeah, it's okay. That's not a terrible idea. But I would probably go the precious metals, and I would take delivery of that. I heard India and China ban crypto. No, they ban crypto. It's clickbait. They ban crypto. They regulate the crypto. They do all these things, and it never lasts, and it's not a big deal. Anyone who's tried to ban crypto, China's done it several times, and then they have to take it back because they realize they're getting left behind. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about that. It's not an issue. Do you think this will happen in America? The answer is no, I don't think it will be banned. I think it could be regulated. My biggest fear, I don't think they're going to ban it, but my biggest fear is they will create some kind of windfall tax. And they're like, it's not fair that Bitcoin has got rich, so when they go to sell it, we're going to tax them 99% of their capital gains or something like that. That is a possibility. But if that's the case, no one will ever sell. And we'll just be holding Bitcoin and earning interest off it forever and working on it that way. The long-term holders will hold it forever. So it doesn't really bother me. When the crypto market crashes during the next cycle, how low do you think Bitcoin and ETH will reach at the very bottom of their cycle, and roughly when will this happen? I haven't looked at my ETH crash price yet. My Bitcoin crash price is around $40,000 to $60,000. Now, we'll see when it gets to what tops it gets to. I think it's going to get to sort of between $300,000 and $500,000. So if it doesn't get there, it might crash lower. But at present, I think Bitcoin will crash down to about $60,000 per Bitcoin in the next cycle, in the next crash. And it will get there, you know, sometimes in 2022, 2023. I've heard ETH will flip Bitcoin. What are your thoughts? It's possible, but I don't think it's likely to happen this cycle. Some states like New York are extremely limited number of exchanges, so you can't get coins like DOT or Cardano. What are your thoughts about using decentralized exchanges? What do you think of Uniswap? Yeah, I think Uniswap's fine, and it's a good way to do it. You just do need to be a little bit extra careful and a little bit extra that you're not getting ripped off. So those decentralized exchanges, anyone can create a coin and call it anything. And so they can create a coin and call it like Cardano and call it something, but is it really? And you have to have a little bit more care when you're doing that, because it's a little bit of a cowboy world and people can try and scam you. So yes, but decentralized exchanges I think are great. Bring on DeFi. Thanks for your great content. Just wondering if you follow the BTC stock to flow model. Yeah, I do. It's kind of two ways of saying the same thing. I call it the 4-year cycle. They call it the stock to flow model. And yeah, it's been what I've used way before it was called the stock to flow model to predict the price of Bitcoin. So It's been quite accurate and it's been good. I think it's yeah, I think so. When we sell at the height of this bull run, sorry, pardon me, I'm out of breath. Is it best to shift to crypto into stablecoin rather than transfer the funds into a bank? Which stablecoins are the best for this? So, yeah, I don't use many stablecoins because I don't trust them, and it's not that I don't. I looked at Tether years ago and I just didn't trust it, and I haven't looked at it since. But I haven't heard anything that would make me trust it anymore. So there's huge question marks over whether or not Tether is legit. Then you've got some of the other ones, like I think the Coinbase has a stable coin now, which I think might be probably more trustworthy. But I don't know, I have to look into them. But what I'm going to do with my profits is I'm going to be buying cash flow real estate. So I'll sell into cash, like it'll go to my bank account for some short amount of time, and then I'll be buying real estate. So that's what I'm going to do with it. Do you think big banker elites are going to try to manipulate Bitcoin and undermine the wealth transfer? Yeah, of course they are. But just so what? Like they try and manipulate everything. They're corrupt as hell. What are you going to do? Hello, Max. If I have, for example, $200,000 to invest in real estate, silver, Bitcoin, and Monero, what percentage of each would you recommend allocating? I'm nearing retirement age, but I'm not afraid to be aggressive with those funds. Also, do you think the cabal could outlaw Monero globally? And if so, what effect do you think it would have? Hopefully, all right. Are they? No, I don't think they're going to be successful in outlawing Monero. So it'll be around. If they do try and outlaw it, it might take a hit, but then I think it will come back. You've always got to remember, by the time they're doing these things, when they're doing outlawing this and banning this, it's because their system of fiat is collapsing. And then you got to look at, well, when something's collapsing and everyone's losing their savings, are they obeying the law? Like, look at people in Venezuela. Do they obey the law? Yes, they don't. Cuba, do they obey the law? They don't. They do what they got to do to survive. And if America gets to that stage, the rules are there ain't no rules. It's survival. It's how do you eat? That's what matters. And if any of these things have value, and if there's, then you're going to be able to buy your food with it, and therefore it's going to have value. And so you got to measure, your ways and cons against. Again, like, what's going to fare the best. And Monero has a great argument that it will fare very well because it's a privacy coin. And it will be could be the currency of a worldwide black market, which everyone is forced into once the real economy has been completely destroyed by governments. And so, they've got a legitimate argument to say that they're going to do very, very well. Maybe Bitcoin fills that role as well, or maybe not because it's maybe the fees are too high, maybe it's not anonymous enough, or maybe it is, and it's perfectly fine, and people will be using Bitcoin. So either way, I think Bitcoin will be the reserve asset of the entire crypto market for many years to come, which means be it on the black market, like the only reason to have Monero in that scenario is a black market argument, and you could trade your Bitcoin for Monero on the black market. And then you can use Monero on the black market to buy goods and services, if that's how that went. So I think that's how it would go. From Sonia, Michael Saylor says, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. What is your preference? Sell or borrow some profit? I'm going to take some money off the table because I haven't for years. And so I'm going to be taking some money off the table. I'll still hold the vast majority of it, but I'll take some off the table. And I'll be selling something in the order of 15 to 20% of my holdings. And then I'll keep the rest and just hold it forever, most likely. Will people hoard Bitcoin because they can use DeFi and they're also attached to them and don't want to let them go? I mean, yeah, I think they'll hoard Bitcoin for a lot of reasons, and these two reasons are some of those reasons. So yeah, I'll be hoarding Bitcoin because I think it will go to. I don't know what we'll have to wait and see. I think between $300,000 and $500,000 this cycle it gets to. But I'm thoroughly convinced it'll be at least $1 million a year by 2025, and if not, by 2030 for sure. And so, yeah, I will be keeping it. I can live off the interest for me. I can live off the interest of my Bitcoin. I can borrow against it and buy all kinds of things. I can borrow against my Bitcoin at Blockfi, pay 4.5% interest, but I can earn more than that with buying cash flow real estate. So I borrow against my Bitcoin, go and buy a building. The cash flow coming in from that building pays off my loan plus supports my lifestyle. I can go and buy more Bitcoin, or I can just be a baller or whatever it is I want to do. So yeah, there's all reasons why hoarding will take place. What happens when everyone wants to sell at the same time? Will the exchanges cope? To a degree, kind of happened today, actually. One of the exchanges closed down, Binance closed down, because not closed down, suspended operations for a small period of time because the Bitcoin price flash crashed like 20% in an hour. And so, yeah, some exchanges closed down for a little bit. That can happen. Can you please explain what DeFi does and is exactly? DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance, and it's anything that happens in the finance sector. So if you've ever been to a fintech conference, which you probably haven't, but if you just financial services, so it's banking, it's credit cards, it's insurance, it's anything that happens in the world, or anything that you'd think might happen at Wall Street, that's finance. But it's at Wall Street, it's centralized finance. DeFi is doing all of those services on a on the blockchain. So that would be decentralized finance. So it's just the traditional finance world done on the blockchain. Hi Max, I'm new to crypto and a resident. Oh, pardon me, this tickle's annoying. I tried to use Kraken to buy BTC, but it was declined due to the laws in my state. Can I still own and sell BTC? Any recommendations for people like me? Yes, sorry, yeah, Washington State's being a pain in the ass. That is a shame. I don't know. I would suggest try an international exchange then. Maybe go with like Bitfinex or a major crypto exchange that's based overseas, and they probably aren't going to give a shit what Washington State does. They're probably not even going to be aware of it. Hello Max, have a Trezor Model T, struggling setting it up. Any tutorials you are aware of? Yeah, there's a heap, like hundreds of Trezor Model T tutorials on YouTube. So just Google that and you'll be fine. Or advise on how to get started with using and transferring cryptos from Coinbase. Yep, go ahead and just do it. Just look for a YouTube tutorial and just watch 2 or 3 of them, and you'll get the hang of it for sure. I hold real estate notes payable and I'm selling another property now at $1.2 million. I plan to hold the mortgage for 7 years, but I'm feeling very uneasy with the talk of the death of the dollar, hyperinflation, digital currency, etc. My question is, what might happen to my incoming payments if we go to a digital currency when the note is payable in US dollars? I think you'll still get paid. It's just what's the purchasing power of those dollars, which is what you've kind of asked. Yeah, and if we look, it's just if we go into high inflation, hyperinflation, then the people holding who have debt win, and the people who hold the notes lose. That's how inflation works. So yeah, you have to make your decision there. If your thesis is that we're going to go into high inflation / hyperinflation soon, then holding notes is probably not a good strategy for you. You'd rather sell those notes, get paid out some percentage, some 80 cents on the dollar, 90 cents on the dollar, whatever you can sell those notes for, and then put your money into maybe crypto or precious metals or something else which you think is more inflation proof. That is what the strategy would be there. What percentage of your portfolio should you put into crypto? That's like one of the questions you just can't ask. I can't answer that. It depends on your risk management and your risk tolerance, your situation, your tax environment, your stage of life you're in, whether or not you have dependents. Like, it just matters on so much. What I can teach you are the things to consider, and then you have to come up with your own plan. So me, I have significant. The vast majority of my portfolio is in crypto. But if it all went to zero, I have other assets which mean I'm still completely financially free. So that's my situation and my risk tolerance, but other people don't have that risk tolerance. And so it depends on what you have and what your situation is. And I can't answer it for everybody. What I can tell you is things to think about. And that's what we do at the Success Council. What is cold storage and when should you do this? Cold storage is when you keep the private keys offline. They never even see an online computer. And I think for where you're at, Mary, just buying a ledger on Amazon or a Trezor is going to be the way to go. And you can store your crypto on that. Once you get into The alternative is, like, the custodian solutions now are very good. And so one of the reasons I like Blockfi, so a custodian, there's like three or four now custodians, and their entire business model is they're going to hold your private keys for you. And they're in like underground nuclear protected vaults, and you can do retina scans, and you need like 3 people to sign a transaction and that kind of thing. And I think the solution is pretty darn strong. And if you have your coins there in one of those, Gemini does it, BitGo does it, there's several of these, but they charge you for it. Here's a solution I think makes more sense. Use Blockfi, because Blockfi stores their Bitcoin at those institutions. But when you go through those institutions direct, they charge you fees, right? You go to Blockfi and they'll pay you interest, right? Now it introduces some risk, but very, very acceptable risk in my opinion. I'll have a whole video on what Blockfi does, how it does it, and why I believe it's a relatively low risk situation. So yeah. Might want to consider that. But just very, very simple. Blockfi is like a bank account for crypto. You just deposit it, and they lend it out just like a bank. But they lend it, whereas a bank over leverage themselves. If they've got $1 million, they lend out $10 million in fractional reserve banking. This is the reverse. So these guys only do over collateralized lending. And in an asset that is the most liquid asset in history. The Bitcoin market never stops. It's 24/7, 365 days. And so if the collateral drops, they can just go ahead and liquidate, make themselves whole immediately 24/7. So they've been in operation for 3-4 years, and a really, really good team. And so, yeah, it's a very, very good solution. Again, link in the description. If you deposit any amount of crypto there, I think you get, maybe there's some minimum, but I think you get $250 cash bonus, crypto bonus for doing that. And then you start earning interest. So it's a good solution. Max, I'm from Australia. Which platform should I use to buy and sell? And what is your recommendation on wallets? So I've just answered wallets. You've got Trezor and Ledger if you want to do it yourself. And you've got Blockfi if you want to just deposit it with someone and earn interest wallets there. In terms of buying and selling, I think you can go with, because Australia regulated a lot of exchanges out of existence a few years ago. I'm not sure if they've walked back those regulations and there's some new exchanges on board now, but I just go to an international exchange if I were you. I would use Bitfinex, maybe Binance, one of the ones based in Asia, or you can use Kraken and just go ahead and get sort of there. If you use Kraken, use a link in my description. I think you get an $80 bonus for depositing or opening an account there and depositing some funds. Hi Max, good to be in the Success Council. I just wanted to ask if you've recently seen an interview with a guy called Kurt Wuckert about BTC's links to the Bilderberg group. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts. I haven't seen the interview, although someone sent it to me recently, but I'm not buying it. I've for years and years and years, I've heard the theory that Bitcoin was a plant by the CIA, was invented by the CIA to get us into a cashless society and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just not buying it. If they did, it was a grotesque failure on their part because it's open source and we can see what it is. And I don't really care if they control it, own it. As long as they can't print more of it and do fractional reserve banking and all that stuff, I'm a happy camper. So I'm not worried about it at all. Hi Max, for the coins beside BTC, they're called altcoins, is the strategy the same in terms of getting out of them towards the end of this year, or are we holding on for them long term? No, they will come crashing down when Bitcoin comes crashing down. I know Bitcoin has the 4-year cycle, but I'm less familiar with the alts. Yeah, and actually you saw today, just a great example. You know, Bitcoin went down and everything went down. Look, everything's red here. Carnage. Bitcoin down 9%, Ethereum down 13%, Dash down 15%, Link down 15%, DOT down 13%, ADA down 11%. And it's when Bitcoin falls, everything falls. When Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. Usually everything goes down worse. And then when Bitcoin goes up, usually they go up. And when Bitcoin goes sideways, usually they go up. Because people get bored with Bitcoin. It's like, come on, Bitcoin, do something. Ah, screw it, I'll go and invest in alts. They're always busy. And so the volume shifts that way. Also, do I have to wait for my Trezor to come in? They said it would take at least 14 days to buy Bitcoin because I heard it can get stolen if it's kept in an online wallet. So depending on your exchange, but Kraken is by far, I think, the safest exchange. It's the one I recommend. Hopefully you signed up with them. If not, use the link below. If your money sits on the Kraken exchange for a few weeks or a month, so I wouldn't be scared at all. Wouldn't have a problem. So no, I would not wait for your Trezor to buy the Bitcoin. Just go ahead and buy it. When it comes, transfer it to your Bitcoin. Where should we not buy a wallet? I heard not to buy it on eBay, Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. I think it's fine. I don't think Amazon's a problem. Also, is it wise? Just do it from one of the ones with like a lot of, what's it called? A lot of reviews. Also, it is wise to have two different like putting your money in two different banks. It's a trade-off. So you've now got two things to track and keep track of. And so, maybe you lose one. That's a problem. But if you only have one, then you've got the problem. If you lose that, you lose everything. So it's a trade-off, and you've got to decide. You just have to decide. Most people choose to just go with one. I'll say that. I'm interested in learning how to earn Bitcoin by stacking stacks, formerly block stacks. Are you able to create a tutorial? I'm unfamiliar with stacks, or direct me to an appropriate reference. I don't know what it is, sorry, so I can't help you with that. I'm also interested in your real estate fund when it becomes available. Do you have an ETA on the real estate fund? It'll be the very end of this year or the beginning of next year. I'll know more in Q4, so we'll wait and see till then. Hi Max, thanks and much love. Silver gold keep getting hammered down by the JP Morgan. Yeah. How will gold silver then ever succeed in becoming a profitable investment in your opinion? It's just going to suffer until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, it'll just come rocketing back. And so that's what you have to know going into precious metals. Until they actually run out of inventory and you just can't get any, then it's just going to stay manipulated. But the theory is, the way you look at it is if you're in this world, and I am too, you are just buying it, because the real price of gold, in my opinion, should be significantly higher. That's okay. That means you're getting to buy it at discounts. So you buy it, you hoard it, you take delivery of it, and if eventually they run out of silver and run out of gold, it probably happened in the silver market before the gold market, then their whole scam comes crashing down, and it instantly gets revalued at maybe 2x, 5x, 10x, 20x, whatever. And so that's the play there. Edge app promotes high security and two-factor. In your opinion, is it still worth using over a project like Edge? Yes, definitely. I would still use Trezor and Ledger over something, an online wallet, which is what Edge is. I've never heard of Edge, but what you've described means I know it is an online wallet. And you can use it for small stuff, like, I keep a couple $100 on my phone so that if I'm somewhere and I can pay in a coffee or the Bitcoin, I do. So you can have it for small amounts, but I wouldn't keep big amounts on a phone or something like Edge. Have you used Tradeoga? Have I used Tradeoga? If so, what do you think about it? I have not used it, sorry. What are the key things to look out for when trying to recognize the end of the Bitcoin bull run in this cycle? Really wanting to avoid getting wrecked. Thanks, mate. Yeah, great question. And we kind of handle that on this channel. So as it's coming, I'll be pointing things out to you. But there's there's a whole bunch of metrics there. There's something called the phsyical, which is a really cool metric. There's the distance from the 21-week moving average, which is something. And then there's timing. You can go by the calendar. There's kind of two schools of thought on this one. It'll happen between September and December this year. So there's a whole bunch of things like that, and we talk about it all on this channel. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, guys. If you haven't done that, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Very, very important. Hiya. Are your mates' Prime Corporate Services set up for Australia yet? I just spoke to them a week ago and they are not. I'm sorry about that. And if so, what would be the advantages of going with someone overseas as opposed to in Oz? Now, you can go with someone in Oz, no problem at all. But the Prime Corporate Services, when they do get set up in Oz, they will have offices in Oz. So you still will be with someone in Australia. My thoughts are that they are all over the various assets now available, real estate, crypto, followers, etc. So I'm interested to have a chat. Just not sure what it looks like long term. It's a free conversation. Go ahead and have a conversation with them and see what value they can bring to you and ask those questions to them. They're going to know better than me. If you were to start out in crypto now with 5K from scratch, would you buy all at once or DCA over a few weeks? I would just buy all at once. How would you allocate between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other coins? And what is your take on XRP? I wouldn't do XRP. I'm not philosophically aligned with it. I don't like giving energy to things I don't like. And so with regards to Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'd probably go 80-20. It seems fun. And where to buy Monero privately. I don't know the answer to that. If you know where to buy Monero privately, please let me know. I'd be open to doing something like that. Max, another question for you. Can you tell me the best way to increase the deposit limit on an exchange? Is there a particular exchange you would recommend for US investors? Yes, I use Kraken. The link is in the description. You get a free, I think it's free $80 when you use that link and deposit some money in there. And they all have the same thing. You can, I have it on, well, it's not, I think it's not unlimited, but it's stupid high, like $100 million limit with Kraken. The way you do it is you just give them more information. Most exchanges have tiers with small limits. You can just do it, sign up with an email. If you want to do larger amounts, pardon me, if you want to do larger amounts, you have to send them more paperwork, a utility bill and whatever else. You just follow their instructions. So you just upgrade your level on all the exchanges. I'm new to BTC and I'm ready to buy BTC. Do you suggest I put all of my budget into it now, or do we going to see some dips later this year? Look, yeah, if you haven't got any, I just go ahead and buy now. Could we see dips? Absolutely. But I don't think you can afford to wait. Hi, Max. My question relates to Bitcoin's scalability issues and high transaction fees. Many people I follow, even some on the TDV team, say that BSV is the true Bitcoin. With no scalability, high fee issues. So I'm not a fan of Bitcoin Cash, BSV, and it's got nothing, I haven't even looked at them. In these situations, the coin with the lower market cap gets wrecked. It's as simple as that. The one with a lower market cap gets wrecked. It doesn't have a lower market cap, stay there for a couple of years and then turn it around. I just don't see that happening. So, yeah, for an investment reasons, I don't know. Now, if you want to have it and use it for some reason, that's a different answer. But if you just want to hodl for investment purposes, I would always go with core Bitcoin. Yeah, so they're my thoughts on Bitcoin, BCH, and BSV. Is Bitcoin outperforming every other coin, including Monero, in 2021 percentage-wise? No, definitely not. There'll be a bunch of altcoins who outperform Bitcoin, but some will fail completely. So if you go into the altcoin world, you get higher returns, but you get higher risk. That's how that works. I'm considering earning interest on some Bitcoin using Blockfi. Do you see any risks in this? I'm assuming that to gain interest there must be some risk involved, but would you consider it an acceptable risk? Also, now that some big banks are getting into cryptos to act as custodians, do you think that they may sell the same Bitcoin to numerous clients as they do with gold and effectively inflate the number of BTC? First question first. How does Blockfi work? So yes, there are risks with using Blockfi. There's always risk with everything. There's a number of risks with Blockfi. They could lose the private keys. They could get the coin stolen. A lot of things could happen down that path. That's the same with all these custodians. They use very, very good custodians like Gemini, BitGo, and I think Prudential, is that what they're called? I don't think they're your big risks. Your big risk is mismanagement, and they have an excellent management team. So what they do, they take money and then they lend people Bitcoin. But in order to lend Bitcoin, they're usually lending to like AAA countries, companies like with billions of dollars of assets under management, and Bitcoin's only 5 or 10% of their balance sheet. And so they get company guarantees. In addition, they get actual cash guarantees. So in order to borrow Bitcoin from them, you have to stick, cash in their accounts. For retail investors, it's 2x. So if you want to borrow $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, you got to put in $100,000 worth of cash, and they'll lend you Bitcoin. However, for some of the institutions like that have better corporate guarantees or whatever, they do go down to like 1.5 to 1.75, 1.4 with these institutions, and that's something that's a relationship they build up over time and trust. But at all times, they are overcapitalized. So in order to borrow 50 grand worth of Bitcoin, you've got to put in at least, for the big institutions that they've got a relationship with, it might be as little as $70,000 or $80,000 cash. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up so that it's going to exceed their amount, they get liquidated. Meaning they take their cash, they go into the market and buy the Bitcoin and say, you don't owe me the Bitcoin anymore. You keep the Bitcoin you kept. I had to go and buy Bitcoin and got it back. So it's a very, 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 I would call it a very, very acceptable risk. Again, link in the description if you want to use Blockfi, and I believe you get a bonus, and I think it's $250 bonus when you create your account there and fund it. So check that out. Link in the description of this video. Oh, here we go. We'll start down here, Kim. I've seen online about a profit pulling strategy. Pull 20% out of your coins tokens when they hit certain thresholds. Ultimately, pull out 80%, but keep 20%. Thoughts? I think you're talking about digital assets. What's his name? Rob over there at Digital Assets, something news. And so, yeah, that's a fine strategy. It's like, that's a completely fine strategy. If we cash out of Bitcoin at its top of the bull run, but the housing market has not crashed, should we take that to fiat and put it in? This one bothers me, by the way, Kim. Yeah, and put it in metals. Oh, I probably wouldn't. No, I'd probably just put it in the bank. I don't think it would be worth transferring it to metals. But this is frustrating me, Kim, because not you, the situation. They're keeping the real estate market alive, and it's a zombie market. And as soon as they've got all these people not paying rent, you've got all these people not paying mortgages, and it was a really bad idea to do this. And it was Trump's idea. Well, it wasn't an idea, but Trump did it. Happened on Trump's watch, and it just shouldn't have been done because you can just never unwind it. And so at some point, I think they're going to unwind it, in which case it'll just be cataclysmic. And then there'll be really good real estate deals, and that's what I'm hoping for. But you got a tax consideration too. Let's see, my strategy, I've devised a strategy whereby I can get the crypto out tax-free if I can sell my crypto tax-free, not tax-free, but no, what's the correct word? I can go and buy real estate. Oh, sorry, I sell the Bitcoin. I have a tax bill at that point, a capital gains tax bill. I can go and buy real estate, and there's so much tax deductions through the depreciation and the bonus first year depreciation that it actually covers all of the tax I would have had to pay. So it's deferring it in a real estate vehicle, and I can hold that real estate forever. So I got a real tough. If the real estate market hasn't crashed by the end of this year, I got some tough choices to make. I might just be holding Bitcoin and not selling it at all because I don't want that what you call it, that capital gains to hit. When Bitcoin topped up at 19K in 2017, then dropped down to 3K for an 80% drop, do you think this is still likely to happen? And the answer is yes, but it just won't go down 80%. I don't think. It might go down 50 or 60% next time. The volatility will get less. So the drops won't be as brutal, I don't think. Can any fraud with Tether kill Bitcoin and the crypto industry? Can't kill it, no, but it can inconvenience it. Kind of like a flash crash today. It'll cause a crash. Maybe it's a crash that lasts for 3 months or 6 months, but no, it can't kill the Bitcoin industry. 1 Bitcoin now equals 57,000. If Bitcoin goes to this, then 3.7 trillion. If it goes to 1 million, then 18.5 trillion. That's a lot. However, central banks can do and print whatever they want. Yes. So is it possible that they can buy up very easy a big part, and then again we have a manipulated government-owned bank? No. The problem with the government-owned fiat currency is that they can print it. Even if they buy the Bitcoin, they can't print Bitcoin. So they're just holders of Bitcoin, just like you. So as long as they can't print it, that's the magic, and they can't print it, so you're good. How do you deal with greed? Oh, I watched that speech from Wall Street talking about greed. How do you deal with greed? Yeah, so I think you're talking about, so how do you sell? Because you don't want to sell, because you just want it to keep going up and up and up. And yeah, you've got to sell some. No one ever went broke taking profits, so you want to take profits every now and again. I haven't taken any yet this cycle. I think we're still going to be going up, well into September and beyond. And so around about September, I'll start to think, and I might take a little bit there, and I might take a little bit the next month, and things like that. But for right now, I haven't taken any profits. I'll be waiting until at least September, I think, and to take a little bit off the table, and maybe I'll do a little bit more as each month goes by, things like that. But the way to deal with greed is to have a plan. So if you have a plan, then you just execute it like a robot, and robots don't get greedy. So that's how you deal with it. Hi Max, do you stake on Kraken? Would you feel safe doing that? Yeah, I would. So Kraken I think, is the safest platform of all of the exchanges. And so I do feel safe staking on Kraken, although I have not staked on Kraken. How are those numbers calculated in my net wealth as measured in only? Gotcha. Section of the calculator, your wealth section, last section of your course, gotcha. I don't get why I have 4 million of Digibyte coin or 6 Bitcoin. Everything else adds up and makes sense except that. Thanks. So the way that calculator works is if you were to sell everything you own, all your different assets, take all your cash and then go and buy only one asset at today's prices, how much of that one thing would you get? So if I don't know the price of Digibyte, but if you've put that into the calculator and it says you could own 4.1 million Digibyte or 6 Bitcoin, then that if you do multiply those out, they should equal the same amount. And if Digibyte doesn't, then I don't know anything about Digibyte, so I don't know why you're using it, or that's fun that you do. The calculator allows you to put in different assets that you deem interesting and want to measure your wealth in. And so if you're coming up with the wrong number, I don't know why that would be the case. How can you play gold Bitcoin on the Kraken exchange? I have tried to sell this on Kraken. Okay. I have Bitcoin in my account, but I just keep getting insufficient funds. I have over a Bitcoin in my account, but I don't have any USDC. I believe Bitcoin will continue to crush gold, and I would like to trade it lightly leveraged. Please help Max. Thanks in advance. So, it's a good question. Can you use Bitcoin as security to buy Bitcoin on that? I think you probably should be able to, but I haven't done it myself. But I would reach out to Kraken support or read their help files. It could be that you are not able to do that. I don't know, but it seems reasonable that you could do that. But it's possible they just don't have that feature available, or maybe it's not available at your level and you need to upgrade levels. That's another consideration. What is your success rate with longs versus shorts in rough percentages? There's only a couple shorts I've done, and I've hit about 100%. That's not true. No, I got stopped out once. So I almost, during this bull market, I've stopped doing shorts, by the way. I only do longs in this bull market. So I've stopped doing shorts, and yeah, but so in this bull market, I would definitely be sticking to longs. And shorts is just harder to think about. You definitely want to be an experienced trader to be getting into the world of shorts. The exchange, Coinspot, isn't listed in the 305 list of top exchanges website you mentioned because it doesn't rate, or there are so many. My friend who's a crypto trader recommended it. I have Binance, but Coinspot seemed more user-friendly for a small-time crypto player like me. I've never heard of Coinspot, and it would make me nervous if they're not in the top 300. So, yeah, I've never heard of it. I can't guarantee it, and that would make me nervous. But it's not to say they're bad. Maybe they're fine. I just don't know the answer to that. So, I don't know. That's a risk you might decide to take. Yeah, not sure. Okay. Hi, Max. Are you still going forward with the cryptocurrency fund that you talked about in December? And if so, how do I get into it? You can only get into it if we've already talked to like one-on-one. So if we've talked about it and you filled out the surveys previously, you can get in it. But I'm not allowed to advertise it, and so I just can't advertise it. You can't be in it unless you've already talked about it and filled out some surveys with me, etc. And that should launch. Hopefully, I'm really hoping I can launch it next week. I think. Yeah, I believe I've got the final draft of all the big. It's like the documents are ridiculous. 100 pages of just ridiculousness, really. But that's what governments want you to do, and I had to pay ridiculous amounts of money to get a lawyer to write it. And so that's now written, and that had to get written, or it wasn't legal to take to start the fund. So that's done, and hopefully I can launch this this week. But you'll only hear about it if you were one of the people who filled out the survey, and we've already been chatting about it. Do I still need an offline computer, or is a Trezor just as safe in order to store my Bitcoin? Yeah, no, Trezor's just as safe. It's just as safe. Trezor's pretty darn safe, and you don't need the offline computer, Sonia. What would be a safer way to scan my ID or driver's license? I just take a photo of it with my phone and send it to the exchange, but I don't worry too much about that. I don't know what is the unsafe way that you're doing, but that's what I do. Hi Max, thank you so much for your amazing work. My questions are as follows. When do you think this bull market in alts and BTC will come to an end? Later this year, between September and December is my best guess. Will you also update us on when you sell your cryptos, time to cash out? Yes, I will. Do you know a good broker to use when liquidating close to 7 figures? Something like an OTC broker. Heard of Caleb and Brown in Melbourne, Australia. I use Kraken and they got a great OTC counter. I can just text them and they just liquidate it for me as long as in fact, even with me, even if my Bitcoin's not on the exchange, I can liquidate it just in a text and I've got 24 hours to get them the Bitcoin. Yeah, I use Kraken. They got a great OTC counter. Is there a way to use a money market account to buy physical gold and silver without taking the money out of the account and paying the tax penalties? Hang on. Is there a way to use a money market? I don't know what a money market account is to buy physical gold and silver. My guess is the answer is no. When you're buying and selling assets, but that's true with any account you have, just because the money is over there on the exchange doesn't mean it's not yours. So when you're buying and selling in that, you have to pay the gains. For example, if I put money on Kraken and I buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin and then I buy some Ethereum and sell Bitcoin, the fact that I still have to pay tax on all those transactions because I bought and sold an asset, the fact that the money was always at Kraken and never in my bank account doesn't make a difference. To my knowledge, not an accountant, check with your accountant. Found your suggestion to buy real estate tax liens as a mean to keep cash in the bank from getting bailed in fascinating. Even with the 10% or so interest I can make on my investment per year for a few years, it may take me to get paid back. Wouldn't the continued rapid decline of the purchasing power of the US dollar offset or even negate the true return of this investment? Yes, inflation will either offset or negate that investment. That's true. That's why most of my investment is in cryptocurrency, because I believe that is going to go up faster than inflation. But you're right, George, you're thinking about that in the right way. Do you have any thoughts on the yuan Bitcoin? That is the influence of the China on the crypto environment. Yeah, I don't care. There's a lot of questions about manipulated markets and all this stuff. I don't care. I've never cared. It doesn't matter to me. And they can't. The reason why I have a lot more faith in Bitcoin to be not manipulated or less manipulated than silver or gold or other markets is taking delivery is brutal. Like if you want to trade gold and then say, oh yeah, I'll take delivery. Taking $1 billion worth of silver is a headache. Institutions don't want to do it. They're just like, give me the cash. I traded it. I made the money. Give me the cash, and I won't take delivery. So they can lie about their inventory. But you can, pardon me, you can take delivery of $5 worth of Bitcoin or $5 billion worth of Bitcoin in 2 seconds. And it's like, here's my address, send me the money. And if they are over leveraging and lying about their Bitcoin and just settling in cash and a scare goes up and says, hey, we want the Bitcoin, send me the Bitcoin, they just won't have it. And it's far more likely that run on the asset will happen in Bitcoin than silver or gold or anything else, because delivery is so pleasant in Bitcoin and so challenging in precious metals. So I think if they tried it, they're going to get wrecked, is what my suggestion is. My question is, what do you think about the long-term behavior of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will be? I see so many, mostly hand-drawn graphs and charts, and show the exponential explosion of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices. And that's fine for questions about what actions are likely to in the near future. But as everyone who is familiar with exponential curves knows, they would literally reach infinity in a few millimeters off the right edge of the graph. Everyone who has thought about this issue knows the price. Okay, well, hopefully we're winding this. Oh, okay, I'm not reading all that, Max. No, sorry, you were given clear instructions to keep the questions about 2 or 3 sentences long. So, yeah, you're right. Bitcoin won't be exponential forever, but it is still now, and it will be an S-graph. So for you guys, is that the right? No, this way. For you guys, it'll be like this, right? We're right now in some exponential thing, and then it's going to tick over to be an S-curve, and that's what Bitcoin is going to look like, I think. But right now, we're still in the exponential phase, And so we ride that up. But it does, I don't think it's going to crash down to zero. It's just going to ride up in an S and then level out. Okay, Max, what kind of exit strategy do you foresee when this run finally rolls over? Do you take partial profits on the way up and remove your initial investment? So yeah, like there are so many different ways to go. But yeah, it depends. Like for the last 2 cycles, I didn't sell any. I just went up and down and up and down and up and down. And now, I'm stupid rich. So yeah, so but that's me, and I've had other businesses that were thriving and successful, and I just didn't need the money. So it was like, I'm just going to leave it in there and let it roll. And yeah, maybe I could have been smarter and sold at the top and bought at the bottom. By the way, I told investors when I thought the top was, I said, hey guys, now's a really good time to take profits. And I picked the top of both the last 2 bull runs within days. And so even though I've been able to do that, I haven't actually done any selling. I just kept it all and just let it ride. I could have made more money if I traded it, but I'm not a trader, I'm an investor, and I know what lane I need to stay in. But this time actually will be the first time I do take some profits off the table. And it won't be a huge portion. That's me. But you got to come up with your own system. So yeah, and a good way to do it is, what was your system on the way in? Did you dollar cost average in? If you dollar cost average on the way in, dollar cost average on the way out. And just every now and again take out some money. But I would never sell all of it, because I think it goes to, well, because of the collapse of fiat, it goes to infinity really. But in terms of purchasing power, I think it's going to get very, very strong compared to every other major asset. And so I definitely want a lot of exposure to it. And because I don't need the money, I just kind of let it roll. But this time I'm going to take some off and buy some real estate and do some fun things. And it's actually a good chunk of that for me is actually just simplifying my life. I own a bunch of houses and I own a bunch of things. And what I'm going to do is just sell all of that, 1031 exchange them along with crypto. I've mentioned earlier in this thing that I've figured out a way where I can, in my situation, roll those profits in tax-free effectively, at least tax-deferred, into real estate. And so I just have, I cash in on massive gains without paying the taxes on them. And so it's a really good way, an efficient way. And I'm going to take advantage of this because there's a tax loophole that I'm taking advantage of, which may not be around forever. And that's actually one of the primary reasons I'm doing this. With the advent of Blockfi and things like that, the argument is there that you really don't need to sell your Bitcoin ever again. You just keep it, you can live off it, borrow against it, and that's the way it works. For someone just starting with crypto and just under 1 BTC and a little additional capital to invest right now due to losing my job, should I try playing the dips to increase my holding, convert? Yeah, no. So don't be a trader unless you're a trader. So, because there's a lot of professional traders out there, and you're not a professional trader, you're going to get wrecked by your emotions, your fear, your greed, you're going to do all the wrong things. So, Paul, I would suggest, if you're not a trader, don't be a trader, be an investor. So much easier. Buy, and you can have a little bit of exposure to Monero. You want to do like 80, 20 Bitcoin to Monero, that's a fair strategy. If you want to be 100% Monero, that's a fair strategy. But yeah, if you don't, I would just generally just buy, maybe like take profits at the, sometime between September and December, that's fine. But yeah, just buy and call. But if you're not a trader, don't be a trader, because typically you'll get hosed. Hey Max, first found Jeff when Bitcoin was $11,000, and he told me to buy Bitcoin on Dollar Vigilante. Then through Jeff, I found you and Dirk. Wouldn't the world be great if the school system taught what the Success Council provides? I agree. Nobody knows the truth, just a bunch of vaccine-injured living dead amongst us. Yeah. Yes, not a question, but yes, it would be great if more people had access to this information. But it's up to you guys to teach your children. And so it's really good that you guys have become a member of Success Council, consume the information, and then you can teach that stuff. Hi Max, I had some cash in my IRA, so I bought a small amount of Grayscale, and they're doing well right now, of course. Do you think these positions are okay long-term, or do you think they may be adversely affected by any future Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs that may come out? No, I think they'll be doing fine. I think Grayscale is a good way to purchase Bitcoin in the traditional way. What parameters and data points do you maintain awareness of that would indicate we are approaching the price top of the cycle? Yeah, so you just watch the channel for this. I go through lots of them. And I've kind of answered this question earlier, so I won't repeat it. But yeah, this right here on this YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. Go ahead and do that, and as all these things happen, I'll be making videos about it. So I know there's got a lot of new subscribers in the last week. You don't know how many videos I make, how frequently I make them, and when. And I tend to make a lot of videos about this stuff, and you'll see it all. So don't worry about it. It's a lot easier for me to show you in video. And so just peruse around this YouTube channel. Subscribe, go to the channel, and just look at previous videos, and you'll see what I do. Why hasn't the US dollar hyperinflated yet? It seems to have had every reason to do so with the incredible money printing. Is US different to Germany in the 20s and Zimbabwe? Thank you. So there is a reason. Although the printing is happening, the money is actually going into the Reserve Bank system, held in the name of the banks, but the banks can't use it, and they can't use it to fractional reserve bank. The money printing that they're currently doing actually has very little value other than to convince everybody else that the Fed is going to rescue them, and then retail comes in and says, oh, everything's going to be fine, the government's going to backstop this. And so the money that they've printed hasn't actually, the stimulus checks is different. The stimulus checks obviously went straight into the economy, and some of the stimulus they've done has gone into the economy, but the majority of it going to the banks, that hasn't entered the economy yet. And what I think will happen is eventually there'll be a banking crisis, and then they'll say, okay, this money that we've been holding for you, that we have been putting in there trillions of dollars over the years, it's now on your balance sheets, and you can do what you want with it to save you. And I think that's what will happen. Can one start investing in cryptocurrency with only a small amount, like $100? Yes, you can. You can buy $1 worth of cryptocurrency. If so, how? Kraken doesn't seem to allow this. Kraken requires a minimum balance in the account of $5,000. Oh, I didn't know that. Coinbase Pro will not verify to a landline phone, and owner doesn't own a cell phone. Is it true that if you are not middle upper class rich and you don't have a cell phone, you can't even start in cryptocurrency? I don't think so. There must be another way. Yeah, there's another way. I don't know it, but yeah, I would have thought, I didn't know that Kraken had that minimum. I didn't know that Coinbase won't authenticate to a landline. But try, does Femex try Femex? So in the link in the description in this video, there is Femex, and that's the one where you can, for small amounts, you can just open an account just with an email address, and you don't have to authenticate and verify with a phone or any of that stuff, and see if you can do cash deposits. If not, I would then try Bitfinex is it Singapore or Hong Kong? I think Singapore. I would try them next. And after that, just go through the list of exchanges. But if anybody else has an experience with this, please respond to this question and let me know in the comments below, because I'm sorry, I've just never had this instance where no one's had a phone, a cell phone. So sorry about that. Do you stake your crypto? If so, recommendations. If not, why not? Your thought on Celsius. I don't stake my crypto, and I don't have anything against it. I just don't. So, but yeah, actually, I probably should stake my Ethereum and my other bits and pieces. It's also, yeah, I probably should do that. Have you heard of Jasara? Oh, I remember people asking me about this, but no, I've never looked at it. Do you think it will happen? Vietnam Dong could go vertical. Man, I remember looking into this 6-12 months ago, and I forget what I looked into it about. But yeah, people showed me, and I'm sorry, I forgot completely what it is. So I don't know what it is, so my apologies. I think it was a big conspiracy theory that they're going to crash everything. I know, I've forgotten. Okay. Hey Max, what size of a window would you say we have to get into real estate once it eventually crashes to truly take advantage of the prices? You mentioned you believe real estate could crash before the peak of the cryptocurrency. I hope so. Yeah, sadly, usually it takes about 18 months from the crash to when you actually get the cheapest prices. So you got a lot of time, arguably too much time, because if we want to sell our crypto this year, we're already not going to get the bottom of the real estate market, even if the real estate market crashes today. So it's a little bit of an argument for me to hold cryptocurrency until January, sell it in the following calendar year, even if I don't get the best Bitcoin price, but maybe I do get the best Bitcoin price, you never know. And then, pardon me, then I'll have a whole 12 months to buy real estate. So that's that. Max, I have recently been noticing more and more market manipulation in ETH surrounding the institutional buyers. With ETH gas fees and newer technology going after Ethereum, would you lessen your risk to Ethereum over time? No, actually, I was probably just about to come into Ethereum. So I believe in April, the developers are saying they're going to have it's the next release they've been working on for years that is going to fix the gas fees. And I suspect, and as a result of the gas fees and everything else going ballistic, Ethereum's been behaving pretty poorly. Especially, let's look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And yeah, oh yes, look at this. What did it go down from? So yeah, anyway, that was that big flash crash today. But well, it's still, you can see, let's go a little bit longer term. And Ethereum's been in this channel for a little bit. It's gone up a few times. It's gone up now. But I love the fact it's coming back down into this channel. If it comes down into this channel, I think I might stock up on Ethereum because Ethereum has been quiet and I think it can totally have a massive move. You see when it moves, it went from here to here in a day. When it moves, it goes really, really fast. And I see it coming down. I think it'll come down a little bit more, but probably maybe the end of this month, early next month, I'm going to be hitting Ethereum pretty hard. So, yeah. And so just on this word, people throw this word around. What is it? What is manipulation? This is capitalism, people. It's like a dog-eat-dog world. They buy and sell. They try and push you out of position. They try and bully you. They shake you around. You know, we, the little guy, just did it to them on GameStop. It's like, that's trading. It's like, put your big boy pants on. It's not manipulation. If it's fraudulent, it's different. Like if they're printing Tether out of nothing and buying Bitcoin and then selling it later and canceling the Tether, that's a different thing. But I don't know. What most people call manipulation is just big boys bullying you around, and you got to toughen up. In the government tax lien section, if I understood correctly, you said that if the homeowner defaults on paying you back and you get the house, the mortgage lien holder is not part of it. Let me triple check that. And the answer is yes, that is correct. You get the home free and clear and the original bank mortgage holder is out of luck. If so, why wouldn't they just buy the tax lien instead of losing out? Or did I miss something? No, very often they will. So they may just, if there's plenty of equity in the house, someone will usually just pay the tax lien to keep the equity. Every now and again, that doesn't happen. Banks don't often do it because it's just not their world. But usually the owner finds a way to pay it back. And so, yeah, if there's big equity in the house, then usually you're just going to get the tax lien because someone somewhere in the chain ahead of you is going to pay for it and keep the equity. But there has been some glorious instances, one being like a person in Florida had a tax lien. It was like a $50,000 tax lien on a $2 million house, and no one did anything, and they got the $2 million house for $50,000 free and clear. So that happens, but you're right, very rarely will you get the equity, you'll just get the tax lien. You'll get the cash plus interest. Hey Max, I was looking at the price of gold and it's been going down since September. Do you think that the recent institutional interest that gold holders are actually changing more into Bitcoin has had something to do with it? The answer is yes, I think it is. I'm wondering if there's going to be a good opportunity to buy into gold or whether Bitcoin is actually changing things. Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I've said for years, I think Bitcoin is going to outperform precious metals, and it has and continues to do so. And I think you're seeing a lot of people rotating from precious metals into Bitcoin now. They're just sick to death year after year after year of the precious metals being promised that it'll go up and it not. And they watch Bitcoin going up crazy numbers and they're getting into it. So yeah, I think you're definitely seeing that. And Bitcoin will continue to outperform precious metals. Hey Max, I was looking at the price of gold and it has been going down since, I read that one. You say you have plenty of cash on hand so that you're ready when opportunities come, markets crash. Where or how do you recommend to hold it, considering what the course says about not keeping it in banks? I do keep it in banks. That money is in banks. I do have some money outside of banks, but I kind of set that up and left it there as like a safety net. But I do, if I want to keep it liquid and ready to move, I keep it in banks. So I do keep it in banks. If you want to keep cash outside of banks, there's two mechanisms I suggest you do with it. One of it is the tax liens on property, which you'll find in the real estate section, in the cash section, and the other one is lending against gold. Appreciate your time and patience. If when the bail-in happens, will this be because the dollar has already collapsed? Yeah, I think so. If it happens outside the USA first, what effect does that have on the dollar? The dollar will get stronger initially, but not for long. If and when it collapses, what happens to the Forex market? I think they're all going to collapse. So the Forex market will still be there. They'll still trade back and forth, and they might even look pretty similar to each other, but they're just not to other things like gold, Bitcoin, etc. Is it wise to keep cashing out of my Bitcoin rather than reinvest into CFX? I wouldn't be cashing out of Bitcoin now, so I think Bitcoin's going to outperform everything for the next few months. So I would be keeping it in Bitcoin. That's my opinion. It has recently been stated that they expect oil to reach $150 a barrel. With the cold spells that came through the US and caused rolling blackouts due to overpowering electrical grid, okay, what are your thoughts on short buying in on these commodities, and how would you suggest investing in them for the long term? All right, this is a very specialized question. You're talking about a whole industry there of energy, which I know very little about. So I'm not sure of how to play those things. I kind of know, I know macroeconomics, I know the banking system and the Federal Reserve System, and I know how they push things back and forth. That gives me a lot of knowledge in precious metals and Bitcoin, because those two things kind of trade off of that. Now, everything does trade off that to a degree. There's so much institutional knowledge in the energy industry that I just don't know. So I would be the wrong person to ask about that, Monica. When is silver going to pop? It would seem the precious metals market will be rigged forever. Yeah, I think so. Can you explain what will need to happen in order for that to happen? I've said it before, but it will stay manipulated. What needs to happen is people need to take delivery of the silver and just take the silver off the market, so that for a prolonged period, for months and months, they cannot deliver, and they will default month after month after month, and eventually it might come crashing down that, oh, there's no more. That's what will need to happen. Hi Max, I don't have a lot invested and I'm very new to crypto. My strategy has been to buy and hold 70-30 Bitcoin ETH mix, but I have made some gains in some random altcoins. My plan is to trade profits only from these altcoins for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Is this a wise plan? I think it's an outstanding plan. Well done, Stephanie. That's a very, very good plan. And yeah, when you take during this bull market, when you take your profits out of alts, put them into Bitcoin and Ethereum as opposed to going into cash. I think that's a really good idea. Do you think Bitcoin ETFs and other crypto funds will have a negative impact on the price of Bitcoin? No, I don't. I think they'll have a positive impact. Again, the manipulation questions. Again, it's so easy to take delivery of Bitcoin. It's a brave person to try and play that scam. Very brave person. I have a small online jewelry business and just set up my website to take a few different types of crypto coins as payment. Where are the customers who want to spend crypto? I watched your video about it, but it dates back to 2014. Are there any good crypto marketplaces, directories, or communities where I can post or advertise? Thank you. I don't think there is, Julie, and there has been a shift in the narrative. So Bitcoin was going to be money, in like a transactional money, and it's a lot less so. Now it's gold 2.0, and people are wanting to hold. Not too many people want to spend their crypto. So I know from my things, I mean, I'm in a very crypto-centric market, and I only have a handful of people wanting to buy in Bitcoin, and they're usually doing so for privacy. And so, yeah, crypto, you're probably not going to get a lot of sales because of crypto, because people are holding it for long-term speculation. They're not holding it and a hedge against US dollar. They're not holding it because they want to buy coffee or jewelry with it. But feel free to check out her site, guys. If you want to buy jewelry with crypto, might be a good idea to do so. Hi Max, appreciate your videos and all the great information. Do you think ETH scaling will be implemented before the end of this hype cycle? If not, do you see Binance Chain flipping the ETH in the market cap? Yeah, if Ethereum doesn't sort out its gas fee situation, it's going to get crushed. However, and the reason I say that is I want to go all the way, let's go to Bitcoin dominance. This is what Bitcoin lived through. Let's put this on the weekly chart. This is what Bitcoin had its scaling issue way back here, and you can see what happened. The Bitcoin dominance went from 96 down to 35%. Everything exploded and Bitcoin suffered because the Bitcoin fees were so high and all these new shiny ICOs were out there, new coins where the fees were zero. And now Ethereum's going through its growing pains. Like, oh, okay, we've got this problem now too. And so that's the problem for Ethereum's going to face. And it will get crushed if it doesn't sort it. But as I said earlier, I believe the developers are saying that in April there will be an update which will fix the gas. And I know very little about Binance, just so I haven't looked at that coin at all. So I don't know anything about the Binance coin. Can you comment on atomic swap? No, I don't know who's doing atomic swaps anymore. Who was it? Was it Komodo? Komodo were doing atomic swaps, but they weren't doing they were doing Bitcoin. They were doing Bitcoin atomic swaps. And I don't know, you'll have to hunt around to see if they still do it or someone else. How will it affect the Bitcoin price? I don't think that significantly. Also, what do you think of ARRR? Never heard of it. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to do another one soon. It'll be either next week or the weekend or the week after. And thank you so much for your questions. I hope you guys get it sorted. There's only a handful of questions on like implementing strategies, but that's because of the first week. Next week, I expect there to be a lot more questions on implementing actual strategies about, oh, I've gone through the stuff in the Success Council. I want to implement this strategy, and how do I go ahead and do that? So I look forward to those types of questions. I will see you guys all soon. Remember, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Critically important. And I'll give you lots of crypto updates and all the cool things that we do. This is where you're going to get the Success Council library is the timeless information. That's where you get all the stuff that's just accrued over years, which helps me understand the world so very well. But with but the timely stuff that's like news and stuff, that's going to happen right here on this YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.